How many of you have an area of your life that is not working or not working as well as you'd like it to? Maybe it's career, could be a relationship, maybe it's family, or maybe it's even your health. What if I were to tell you that I have a methodology that can help you make changes in that area right now? It's actually super simple, and frankly, I think it's quite fun because I made a game out of it. Now, in order for you to understand the game, I need to share with you a little bit about change methodology. And it actually starts with the results that we get in our lives. Think about it. What is it that causes the results that we get in our lives? Well, we already know the answer to that, right? It's the actions that we take. The actions that we take produce the results that we get in our lives. And if we want to create change, what do we need to do? We need to take different actions. But here's the real question. What is it that is driving the actions we are taking? What is it that has us do the things that we do? Well, it's actually our view. Our view of the world is the thing that dictates the actions that we take. Try this on. Imagine that you are walking down the street. It's at nighttime and you are by yourself. You see another woman coming toward you. She's walking her dog. She's humming a little tune. And she smiles at you sweetly as she walks on by. What might you do? Well, you might smile back or say hi. You might even bend down and pet her dog. Now imagine that the person coming toward you is a man. He's wearing a trench coat, and the only skin you can see is on his face, and it is completely covered in tattoos, with a little teardrop tattoo in the corner of his eye. What might you do in that situation? Well, if you're like most of the people I ask, they might clutch their bag a little more tightly, or they might avert their eyes, or they maybe even go so far as to cross to the other side of the street. Same street, same you, but you had totally different actions that you took with those two different people. Why? Because you had a totally different view. Now, this happens to work the same way in every area of your life. Think about it. At work, if you think that your doctor is unfair, or you think that your team is unreliable, do you think that's going to impact how you work together? If you think that your spouse or your significant other doesn't care about you anymore, do you think it's going to change the actions that you take or maybe not take? Or think about yourself. If your view of yourself is that you're not worthy, you're not lovable, or that you're dumb, do you think your actions would be different if you saw yourself as powerful, amazing, and courageous? Your view will dictate your actions, and your actions will dictate the results that you receive in life. So, if you want to be able to change your life, you have to change your view. Now, when I discovered this, I really wanted to play with it, and so I literally made a game out of it. It was called, very aptly, Change My View. And I used to play it with my fiancé whenever we would disagree. I remember the first time we played it, we were driving through Joshua Tree National Forest. Now, I'm from Boston, and we don't have Joshua trees there. And frankly, I find them kind of unattractive. Joe, though, on the other hand, he loved them. So I decided to employ my game, and I told him to change my view. And he did. He started to tell me how these trees were named after the prophet Joshua with his arms stretched up in the air. He talked about how our ancestors used them to make bowls and to rope. The more he started to talk about these, the more that I could transform these mangy bushes into beautiful, extraordinary trees. He was able to change my view. Now, changing my view of Joshua trees, I don't know that it really changed my life. But it did prepare me for a game that would really allow me to be able to change a perspective in an area that was so important. I decided to play Change My View with people I didn't like. No, I didn't walk up to them and go, hey, I don't like you, change my view. But I did go and ask them questions about their life. And when I asked them those questions, I got genuinely curious about their answers. And something amazing happened in that space of genuine curiosity. What happened was they started sharing things about their life that I had never known. They started sharing about family members who may have passed away or financial devastation. They may have even talked about a terminal illness they were dealing with. It started to make sense why they had interacted with me, perhaps in a dismissive or rude way. And in every single case, I was able to change my view of those individuals. And in one case, so much so, she became my best friend. So if you can change your view, you can change your relationships. And there is no more important relationship out there than the relationship we have with ourselves. I remember when I turned 50, I looked in the mirror and my view started to change. I started to see myself as old and ugly and irrelevant. I no longer wanted to wear makeup or get dressed up or even go out, and frankly, it was causing isolation and impacting my mental well-being. I was getting ready for a gala one day, and my fiancé came in, and he looks at me and he says, "You are so stunning." That was his view, a view I noticed I had been dismissing for quite a few months at that point. But then it dawned on me, I could play my game. I could change my view. And I decided instead of taking my view into that gala, I was going to take his. I was going to go in and I was going to be the most beautiful and powerful woman at that gala. Now, when I first walked in, I admit it was a little bit awkward for me. But the more I continued to play the game, the more I noticed that people started interacting with me differently. And it started to empower me, and I felt more courage and more beautiful. Now, did every person in that room think that I was the most beautiful person there? I don't know. But the most important person in that room did, and that was me. And I am still playing that game today. So if you can change your view, you can change you. So how do you make those changes in your life? Well, first, pick an area of life that isn't working for you, and then go to work on it. Get curious about the current view because you know that the view that you have is the thing that's keeping you stuck in your life. Then challenge that view and ask, what else could possibly be true here other than the view that I have? And then maybe better yet, borrow somebody else's view like I had done with Joe when I went to that gala. Now be patient. It may not happen overnight. And make it a game because we all know that when we play, transformation is so much easier. So what is one area in your life that isn't working that you are going to apply a new view? 5 years ago tomorrow, I actually founded a nonprofit organization that works with individuals who have been historically silenced, helping them to be able to tell their stories in a way to be able to make a difference for their communities. I had the distinct honor of working with women impacted by sex trafficking and sexual assault. I got to work with them for the first 2 years we were working together. The third year, I was tapped on the shoulder to work with individuals who had been formally incarcerated. Now, I have to admit, my view at the beginning was, like many others, they must be bad. They've done something wrong. They deserve to be there. But the more that I worked with them, the more that I could hear their stories, the more that I could see their humanity. And it became very clear to me that if I had their view, if I had their life, if I had their experiences, I would have done the same actions that they took. I remember when we graduated, all of the speakers from the formerly incarcerated stepped off the stage and we all decided to celebrate. And we're all sitting at a big table together, all of the volunteers and all of the speakers. And what was really interesting as I noticed this is that all of our volunteers were our graduates from Triumph Over Trafficking. They were the victims of crimes, sitting alongside and supporting perpetrators of crimes. In what world do you see those two disparate groups being able to come together in harmony and love and creating a bond that even ripples out today? So yes, if you can change your view, you can definitely change your life. But maybe even more so, you could change the world. Thank you.